What's up? Honor Man 26 may be my response to Ichiban Puroresu on his video Why Opinions Do Not Coexist. Basically, in this video, he discusses the debate between Dragon Gate Japan and USA Indie fans versus the seriously knowledgeable Puroresu fans, which is Japanese wrestling for those of you that don't know. For whatever reason, the seriously knowledgeable Puroresu fans do not like promotions and wrestlers and the styles of Dragon Gate and USA Indies, basically ROH, PWG, Chikara, stuff like that. And he has, in the description box, he actually said he gets the impression that I like the perennial targets, or some of the perennial targets. Actually, let me hit on that first. So there are also some more perennial targets that do not wrestle mainly for those promotions. Like a big one would be Marufuji and Kenta. They basically are the big stars that came to ROH from Noah. Those are big targets as well. So he says in the description box that when he wants me to do my video response, he says he gets the impression that I really like the perennial targets, such as Marufuji and Richards, which is actually kind of funny that you chose those two, because those are probably my two favorite wrestlers in the world right now, with Richards being number 1 and Marufuji being number 2. And based off of what you said, if I was a part of the forum that you mentioned here, I'd probably get torn apart. But I'd probably hold my own, but that's a different story. But anyway, some of the stuff that Marufuji has done this past year is just gold. His stuff with New Japan. I mean, Kenta last year in 2009 probably had better overall matches, but I felt that Marufuji's matches this year were much more entertaining because they had a different factor than Kenta's had in them. Kenta was just kicking the crap out of people, which is awesome, but Marufuji had a little bit of that character and that just drive that you can see in some of his matches that Kenta really didn't have. And especially, it was so evident in his matches with Devitt, and the one with Liger and Kanemoto. Just those 4 matches, 5 you count the finals of the Super J Cup, are just gold. And while they aren't star rating wise the best matches, they all are just so much fun to watch. Anyone who's been a long subscriber of my videos knows that Richards has been my favorite wrestler since April of 2007, and basically that I was one of the first people that I know to see what a lot of people now see in Davey Richards. I thought he was a main eventer back then, and he was just on the cusp of breaking out for a year and a half, and then just everybody saw that along with me. So I'm kind of glad that was one of the first people to realize that in Davey Richards. But so I'm going to try and focus on the more perennial targets in a little bit. But there's some questions he wants me to answer, and I'll go over them. First question is where I see myself as a fan. Basically, I'm a fan of everything. You put on some CZW, and it's not. I'm a fan of just every type of wrestling. You pop on a tape of 80s New Japan, I'll watch that. You type on a tape of current, Chikara, I'm gonna watch that. You type on 90s WWF, I'm gonna watch that. Just anything and everything I watch. And that just started because I wanted to be a better fan, and in my eyes, because I don't think my opinion is anywhere better than anybody else's. I just feel I have a different opinion because I do watch all types of wrestling, and I think I am educated about all types of wrestling. I don't think my opinion's better. I just think I've put the time and effort in to become educated, which some of the people, I don't want to name any names. I'm not friends with anybody like that because I don't want to associate with them. But some of the people that take shortcuts and just say they watched it when they really just haven't. I don't associate with those people anymore. And there are a lot of people that, and they're successful because of it, take the time and put in the effort to watch all types of wrestling. And some of them have admitted on their videos. Like I believe Sanders Robin has said a couple times that he can answer a little bit of questions on Japanese wrestling in his Q&As, but he can't answer a ton because he hasn't watched a lot of it. Which is fine, and I totally get, and he's like the #1 expert for Ring of Honor on here, and he's watched a ton of WWE, so he's definitely putting in the time, which I appreciate. But anyway, next question he's asking is, are you a fan of the indie style? Now, I have a question kind of back, is what is the indie style? I'm guessing a lot of fans perceive it as the Ring of Honor style, and because it is the most heard of indie, But if you look at a promotion like Chikara, which is a very successful indie as well, that is a lucha-based promotion, and it's very different from Ring of Honor. So I really don't get what the indie style is, but if you're talking just about the Ring of Honor style, then I'm a huge fan of it. You know, I've been a huge fan since my first match back in April 2007, and you know, I'm a fan of all styles of wrestling, unless it's just like the bad CZW stuff I hate, and that's probably it. And there's none of that in Japan because of the big Japan stuff I like a lot. So, next question is, how do you appraise matches? I use the star rating system because I feel it is the best way to compare matches to one another, and it is the easiest to compare to like actual words like great translate to 4 stars. Like I feel that's kind of the easiest way to do it, and a lot of the other people on here use star rating, so I can compare mine to say Big Rats, True Slayers, Crazy Mike, whoever. And I believe that I actually know that you use a percentage system, which is I've never seen before, and you know, it's a different take on things, and I definitely appreciate it. All right, here's the perennial targets question, which I'm gonna. There's a couple of them actually, but I'll try to combine them into one. Do you think the guys like Kota Ibushi, Naruki Doi, Davey Richards, Kenny Omega, Tyler Black, etc. are grossly overrated? Do you feel that they are unfairly treated? Okay, Kota Ibushi, some of the stuff he can do in the ring is just out of this world, amazing, and you know, I don't know why he really hasn't been used in the United States since Evolve 1, to my knowledge. You know, I know he had a 4-show tour of Ring of Honor back in 2008 where he put on great match after great match after great match, and he was in that awesome 4-way in Chikara last year at King of Trios Night 2. But you know, I just don't know why Ibushi hasn't been used more of a worldwide sense. He's just kind of being used in New Japan and DDT. I know that there's a match coming up on a New Japan card that I'm just looking forward to so much. It's Apollo 55 versus I think it's going to be Ibushi and Omega, which just sounds just all kinds of awesome. Naruki Doi, he's not my favorite Dragon Gate guy, and I'll be the first to admit that. Shingo is by far. And I probably like Yoshino more and Dragon Kid. Is that it? I like him and Genki Horiguchi are kind of on the same level, but I definitely do like Doi. For that reason, I think he might be a little overrated. You know, he's definitely awesome. You know, he's a great wrestler. But I feel that just other guys suit my liking of Dragon Gate better. Like Shingo hits it to a T, and he's probably the only real guy that does that. And I love a lot of other guys from Dragon Gate, but Shingo is just by far my favorite right now. Davey Richards, my favorite wrestler in the world, bar none. Not bar none, but he's been since '07. One of my favorite wrestlers, if not my favorite wrestler. Kenny Omega, he's not underrated. He's underrated, if anything, because he doesn't appear in the U.S. all that often. A lot of the U.S. fans forget how actually good he is. And you have to see his work in a promotion like DDT, where it kind of actually fits his gimmick a little better than a promotion like Ring of Honor, and especially like a promotion like PWG. And that's why I think if he ever gets a huge push in New Japan, which they're kind of doing right now, he's gonna fly with it. And I think he'd work better in getting a big push in that company than he ever would in WWE or TNA, and probably even in CMLL or AAA. So, and then Tyler Black, this one is tough because a lot of his own fans in this country, the US and indie fans, are against him. So this is a very rare occasion where these types of fans usually agree. Now, I'm one of the indie fans that liked Tyler Black from the first time I saw him on WSX, and you know, I've never stopped liking Tyler Black. So, you know, I don't think he's grossly overrated at all. I think that every single bit of hate he gets is undeserved. And with going to the WWE now, I really hope that he can succeed. And his last match is tonight in AEW, teaming with Jimmy Jacobs against the House of Truth, which is probably a very fitting last match for him to have on the indie circuit. I feel that all the perennial targets are unfairly treated for that reason. all fans pretty much try and prove that their opinion is better than the other, and kind of the Puroresu fans in this situation kind of act as like a gang a little bit, and they kind of team up and take out Richards or Ibushi or Tyler Black. You know, that's not really fair. I mean, I know the USA Indie and Dragon Gate fans do that as well, but at least we kind of respect and kind of at least hear out the opinions of the Puroresu fans, which I really don't see all that often. I have seen some of these arguments that you are talking about. And the final question is it fair to criticize promotions like ROH, PWG, DGUSA, etc. as being too heavily focused on moves, near fall, spamming, and spots? Alright, ROH, there's so much substance to all the spots and moves that probably go unnoticed by a lot of people, except for the people that do put in the time and actually care about Ring of Honor. So I don't even see the focus on moves and stuff like that. I mean, some of the selling is weird, and I'm fully aware of that, and sometimes it does become a little spot happy, a little bit, but especially in the main event scene, it's nowhere near that. It would be on the undercard if you saw it at all. So, PWG, they do have, their roster is a little more spotty, because they bring in guys like Ricochet and Chuck Taylor. Well, not really Chuck Taylor, more Ricochet. A lot of their young guys like Brandon Gatson, Johnny Goodtime, LTP, are all, spot happy. They are. And a lot of the guys in that, like Brian Cage, he's very spot happy. So did they put a little more emphasis on it? Yeah, because a lot of their fans actually react a little bit better to spots than the ROH fans base does for whatever reason. So I think the PWG fans are a little bit of a mark for moves. Honestly, I think they are. If anything, PWG, if they can find a balance between how awesome some of their storylines are pre 2009 and matches are now, that'd be awesome. And Dragon Gate USA, it's an American version of Dragon Gate Japan. Their shows are supposed to be spotty a little bit. If you saw the greatest spot fest of all time at Enter the Dragon, you know what I'm talking about. So, but you still, in a promotion like Dragon Gate USA, which is perceived as going to be very spotty, you have to still put on matches like Danielson and Shingo, which had just unbelievable psychology, which I cannot wait for you guys to see it when it comes out on DVD, because live it blew my mind. And I've said this in at least 5 videos since then. I just cannot wait for you guys to see it. So overall, I do think that the Puroresu fans do need to get in check a little bit. I see where they're at least coming from on this. I mean, Japanese wrestling has a lot less tainted history in it than American wrestling does, and Dragon Gate hasn't been around for all that long, and it's kind of different from everything else in Japan, and so kind of their fans stick out. So for that reason, I mean, they're never 100% going to get along, but I think both sides need to just take a step back and just at least see where the other ones are coming from here, especially the Japanese fans. Saying that the Dynamite Kid, Dave Richards is basically a copy of the Dynamite Kid. Yeah, he does a lot of his offense, but you look at every wrestler, and Ichiban pretty much said this verbatim, and I completely agree, is that every wrestler in the world is kind of a little bit of a copy of someone else. And, and it takes a rare wrestler, and that wrestler usually is really popular and hated, and is a perennial target by Puroresu fans that is completely different. And it takes a good example, which I can't think of one off the top of my head, that is a complete, just shot in the dark. I've never seen a lot of the stuff he does before. So, alright, hopefully you guys like this video. I want to thank Ichiban Puroresu for doing this video. It's a great topic to think about, and I'll see you guys later.